Hello, my name is Sean. I'm here to add to the conversation when it comes to AI and robotics, the ethics and the concerns and the safety nets that we could provide for the entire human race. Now, I don't have any background in education besides a high school degree. I'm just a human who's made a lot of money and who's had a lot of time to think about things. I will also continue to think about things, but this is just a conversation piece. Maybe we can try and figure out some middle ground somewhere, because I know we like to just argue and, say our opinions and whatnot. But I've been reading this book called All's Fair, Love and War, what's it called? Love, War, and Running for President. I was gonna say Love and Warfare, but it's something totally different. Anyways, I also asked Meta's AI, I said, has there been any conversations in the government on limiting job replacements from the creation of AI and robotics? Response, yes, there's been conversations and discussions in governments worldwide about the impact of AI and robotics on job displacement and the need for policies to mitigate its effects. Now, it does give some examples on what could help mitigate. Number one being UBI, Universal Basic Income. I, for one, also am for this method, and I know that there are some issues with it, and I will discuss that as we go along. Number two, job retraining and upskilling. Number three, robot tax. Number four, regulations on AI deployment. Number five, social safety nets. Also in favor of social safety nets. So these are examples of countries with ongoing conversations and initiatives. The European Union, they established high-level expert groups on artificial intelligence to address AI social and economic implications. Okay, cool. That's a step towards, teaching people about AI, but that doesn't, it's a step, but, it doesn't really, really help. It does help in like the long run, but we need like more of a, hey, this is an idea that we can implement because of this, because of that, blase, which is what I'm going to get to in this video. Number two, the U.S. has discussions on AI policy and job displacement in Congress and the White House. Okay, discussions on AI policy is important, but again, it's still, a discussion. Japan has launched an initiative like Society 5.0 to prepare workers for an AI-driven economy. So Japan so far has taken the largest step when it comes to accepting that AI is the future, and they are purposely moving towards the society of AI, right? Japan's always been ahead of its time when it comes to technology, so it's honestly not that big a surprise. But it's also kind of alarming that Japan is already taking that huge initiative, right? So European Union and US, they've basically just been talking about it inside the Congress. The EU has maybe talked to other people outside of Congress, but still in like higher economics to talk about it. But Japan is moving their society towards it. That's big. Singapore has implemented programs like professional conversion programs to retain workers for new roles. So that's actually important as well, retaining people that are already in their current jobs instead of displacing them or replacing them with robots. Hey, these people are already here. Let's keep them and then just have them train on what's gonna be assisting them, right? A tool, which is what I think AI and robotics should be used as, but we know, billionaires are obviously gonna just, use the AI and the robots because it's cheaper than human labor. So yeah, those are the conversations. There's obviously more detail in them, but I will not talk about it because it's whatever. Like my summary of it was good enough. But yeah, like I said, this book is very political, of course, but if you do have a copy, cool. If you don't, that's fine. So on page 23, so the two people in this book, Mary Madeline and James Carville, right? They were in a relationship, but they were also in politics on different, they were on the same campaign, but they were on different teams, right? if you scroll down, yeah, you could scroll down if you're watching this online. But on page 23, it's a conversation with Mary and her father. Um, basically, here, I'm just going to read this out loud. Okay. I was working full time to help pay for school, cocktail waitress, library assistant, clerk in a day-old bread store. He'd say, the father, don't you work harder in school because you're paying for it? Would you want to give part of your earnings to another non-working student because they didn't want to work? What if your earnings were confiscated by the government to support non-workers? Would you work harder for less money? Right? Obvious implication when it's talking, because this is in the 1970s, right? So they're obviously talking about the hippie movement, and like the hippies were talking about, hey, free love, free peace, and stuff like that. I've been hanging out with hippies as well recently here in Thailand. So, you know, I definitely love to talk to hippies now about the current hippie movement, if it has adapted, if it has changed, right? The hippie movement definitely has a bad past. But we're not going to go too far into that, right? But also on page 24, let me skim down. Where is it? So yeah, she was talking about CETA, OSHA, all these different administrations that were created by the government to supposedly help people, but in reality, it hindered people from doing their work. So her mother, Mary's mother, was a hairdresser, and instead of actually doing hairdressing and, taking care of her clients, she was busy doing paperwork because the government needed her to do paperwork, right? Do the ends justify the means types of conversations, right? But if you scroll down even more, right here, I had grown up as a Chicago Democrat surrounded by big city machine. My mother was a Kennedy Democrat. She worshiped Jackie. She wore a pillbox hat. I voted for Carter in '76. I didn't even know what a Republican looked like, but I was an unthinking Democrat. And when I started thinking, it was hard to remain a Democrat. Finally, I had to admit to my friends in my hippie commune thinking just didn't track right. Most of it was a cop-out. It devalued individual merit. And so she's talking about the hippie. Sorry if I'm reading it like weird. She's going to explain her feelings when it talks about the hippie movement and being a Democrat, right? She says, quote, it devalued individual merit and glorified group rights. It defended irresponsible, antisocial behavior as the result of an unjust society. It naively minimized self-interest and depended on selfless altruism. My friends were all die-hard liberals and couldn't understand my conversation, and I wasn't well enough grounded in my new ideas to articulate it persuasively. I'm just like her in a sense, like, hey, I'm trying to learn and I'm finding new stuff out. Hey, look, I found a new word that I never even seen before. Perceively, persuasively, Persuasively. To them, if you were a Republican, you were Nixon, and if you were for the Vietnam War, you were Goldwater. You were a horrible things. You were these horrible things. Okay. So let me put a bookmark there. I'm not done reading it. I am going to read this, right? So I don't agree with Mary 100%, but she does raise some interesting conversations, and so does her father, right? When it's talking about, would you work harder and get paid less, right? So this is where, AI and robotics come in, right? So fast forward, AI and robotics are going to replace people, right? At the same time, we need, obviously, safety nets, right? UBI is one of those, universal basic income, which means regardless if you work or not, you get an income and something suitable, that you can live through, right? And a lot of opposition to UBI that I've seen. I'm pretty sure there's more. So if you would like to, let me know what these other, reasons why UBI isn't a good thing. But one of the main ones that I've seen and what I've heard is if we have UBI, more people are going to be lazy. less people are going to want to work if they're getting a steady paycheck. These things are true. At the same time, there are people currently who are lazy. There are people currently who do not work. Yes, UBI is going to create more people that don't want to work, maybe in the short term, maybe in the long term. I personally have lived off government assistance. I'm an Army veteran, right? So before my VA checks came in, I had unemployment and I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment. I was also working towards my own career online instead of working a 9 to 5 because it's just not my lifestyle. So yeah, I've also suckled on the government teat. When I started getting my VA checks, I purposely cut my unemployment. Other people will probably keep using unemployment and their VA checks and not do anything. But I took that money, I started working towards my own channel. I started working for another channel, and I moved across the world to another country where I knew my finances would be able to sustain me if YouTube didn't work out in the long run. So far, it's been so good. But at the same time, this freedom has given me the ability to think. I've worked on myself. Introspection is something that I preach on this channel a lot. If this goes on my channel, I honestly don't know. I've been thinking about it. Should I upload it or should I not? I do want to add to the conversation, but at the same time, it's kind of nerve-wracking. But besides that, right? UBI, robotics, AI. Robotics are coming. AI is here. AI is constantly developing. Whether you like it or not, there needs to be some type of safety net. I advocate for UBI because it gives everybody the ability to do what they want, right? So as a human being, I would love to see other human beings flourish in whatever activity they see fit, as long as it does continue our society or help towards our society, right? I'm going to look at this from several different perspectives, not just like the individual, but society and also big businesses like Tesla and all these other big companies, right? So let's look at it real quick from the perspective of Mary's father, right? If Mary's father was still alive, which I doubt he is because this 1970s, human life and death, it's normal. So what would be an issue for people like Mary's father? I would assume, right, and this is assuming, you're a red-blooded Republican all the way, right? You care about hard work. You care about getting your hands dirty, working for everything you want. Nothing is given to you. Nothing's a handout. Nothing's free. You worked for every little thing ever, and you feel good about it because that's the American thing to do, right? With UBI, nothing is going to stop you from working. It might stop other people from working, but that does not stop you from working. What would stop you from working would be an AI or a robot coming in that can do your job better than you. That would make you lose your job. But with UBI, even if you lost your job, you'd still have that safety net. Another proposal, which I don't even know would be possible, right? I think this would come down to like human greed and basically if you care or not about another person, right? So let's say two people work at a job and then a robot comes in. And a robot comes and replaces one of those two people's jobs. Now, half the workforce is gone. They've been replaced by robots. UBI keeps those people okay. Now, should we have another robot come in and take the other 50%? I would say no, because especially if those people want to work, right? Maybe give the option who will want to stay with the robots versus being let go. Have a conversation about that with the workforce. Who wants to stay? Who wants to leave? Now, if nobody wants to leave, something's going to have to give, right? From the worker perspective and from the corporate perspective, something has to give because it is cheaper to have these robots do these easier jobs. Okay, let's just say it like that, make it nicer, right? Have these robots do easier jobs versus having to pay people to do these easier jobs. So this is where it has to come down to either, you have to adapt and change whatever you're doing for your job, or you lose it, right? So that would be the conversation. Obviously, it's not in the favor of the worker, but this, I think, is where we could have more of a more civil conversation, or in a more civil space. So this person, let's say they all get paid $10 an hour, right? Or $20 because inflation is crazy. So let's just say $20 an hour. The two people, they were both getting paid $20 an hour. Well, one person, they got replaced by the robot, but this other person also wants to keep working. Well, obviously, a lot of people would say, hey, the person that's working for the $20, they just keep getting $20. If you're a boss, you're probably thinking, yeah, I cut that person out so I can make more money, right? Other people would say, well, since the other guy got laid off, this other guy should get a raise. I would also say, sure. But if they're both being paid $20, obviously it would there's no benefit for the boss to pay the person that's still behind the other person's $20. So I think this is where we have to come to some type of agreement, instead of, the worker that's staying getting an extra $20. Now they're getting paid double for a different amount of work, because they're going to have to do something different. There's going to be somebody that has to take care of the robot's duties, or, observe it and make sure everything's going fine. It just has to be. There's no way you can just let the robots and the AIs just do their own thing and expect nothing bad to happen in the future. Like, sure, maybe immediately everything goes smooth. You'd think you don't have to watch it. We probably should watch them. From one human to another, we probably should watch them, right? This is just my advice. Instead of giving the other worker double the salary, give them $10. Pay them half of what the other person was making. So now they have UBI. They're getting paid an extra $10, right? So now they're getting paid $30 an hour. They're not getting paid $40, which would be amazing, but they're getting paid $30, which is also still really good. On top of that, the boss, they still get money, right? At the end of the day, people want money. But then, this is why I say it comes down to greed, because if the boss is like, no, bro, I want all of the money, well, then, I'm in favor of unions, of course. I think unions are great, right? But as someone that's also run a company, has been a boss, and has been subject to looking at a bunch of money and saying, should I take all this money? Every time, instead of taking all the money, I've always opted to giving my employees a raise. That's just how I've done it. And yeah, does it make my bank account a little sadder? Sure. But at the end of the day, I feel, if people have high morale, they do better work. And I've seen, that go either way, to be honest and upfront with you, because employees like to do whatever they want to do. Some people get lazy in the job and they feel like, hey, I can cut corners. Even when they got a raise, some people might think, oh, maybe I deserve more. Hey, I got a raise, now I can slack off a bit or something, right? There's always going to be questions about it. But overall, this is just my proposal, because at the end of the day, AI and robotics are the future. No discussion about that. The real discussion is, what can we do to mitigate the issues for humanity? You're not going to stop other humans from being lazy. You're not going to stop other humans from working if they don't have to work. But I know for a fact there are humans that love to work, and their purpose is to work. That is what gives them satisfaction. Working makes them happy. Not everybody can just sit on the side and relax by the pool all day. Every human works differently. But this is where I think this idea could help the most amount of people. But you guys, of course, can let me know in the comments what your questions, your discussions about it, because this conversation is very important, right? So this is where I'm thinking, and reading this book helped me put it in perspective, because like I said, man, this was in the 1970s. You guys know who these are? Nixon and Kennedy. So, you can learn from the past to help, mitigate the future. Like they say, you're doomed to repeat the past if you don't learn it, or if you don't pay attention to history, you're doomed to repeat it, which I think is true. But I think this history is a way to help for the future. Hopefully. Like I said, there are definitely some things in there where it comes down to individuals on whether or not things will go smoothly or we'll have issues. But this is just a conversation. So let me know what your thoughts are. And I'll see you guys on the next one. I'm gonna continue reading this book. Maybe I can have more ideas I can spin off of it. Maybe you can spin off some ideas. Maybe we could figure it out. But yeah, that's all of our futures, man. So we need to actually do something about it. And I get not everybody wants to participate. Not everybody wants to have a say. Some people don't care. Some people want AI to do everything and they get to sit back and relax and play World of Warcraft all day. I don't have any hate towards it. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do, right? I am a advocate of free love. So, do what you want, do as you will. But I also understand there are some people who care about pulling themselves up by the bootstraps, even though that's not possible. But work is their life duty, and that's what they love to do. So I'm not going to stop them from doing it. Anyways, it's been your boy, Sean. I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good day.